audio, visual, everything. It's overwhelming. And I really like what you said that, and I may butcher it, but that our life experience is dictated by our theology. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Is that about right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, I love that we never discuss ahead of time what I'm going to talk about, because I never know what I'm going to talk about. And yet everything this morning kind of led up to exactly what I want to share with you. I woke up with lyrics in my head. I don't listen to music, but I read lyrics a lot. Because, again, sounds really stimulate me too much, but I love reading lyrics. So my friends, when they like a song, they send me the lyrics, not the song. And this friend and I recently had a conversation, and he said that it's in human nature to judge. That that's just who we are, and we can't help, because I always talk about non-judgment and, graduating beyond, as Rumi said, beyond right and wrong, there's a field, I will meet you there. And I'm like, oh, I want to set up camp. That's where I want to live. And my friend said, that's ridiculous. We can't. It's in our nature to judge. And when the Dalai Lama was asked, what is love? He said, love is the absence of judgment. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, man, people have been trying to define love forever. And I think we have very different kinds of love for parents, family, siblings, lovers, etc. But I think at its core, love is unconditional. And if it has conditions, then it isn't love. It may be a transaction, and maybe anything else, but it isn't love. Love, for it to be love, it needs to not have conditions. And going with the Dalai Lama's definition that love is the absence of judgment, I think back to our first experience of love, and I think back to the love, sorry, there's feedback, and I don't know if it's because I'm too close to the mic or what, but my experience of love with my parents, right? It's like when I lean this way or something. Their love was very, very conditional. And there's a song by Alanis Morissette that came to mind this morning that, don't worry, I'm not going to sing. It's written from the perspective of a child, imagining that if the parents wrote down a letter to the child, this is what it would say. If you're flawless, then you'll win our love. Don't forget to win first place. And don't forget to keep that smile on your face. Be a good boy. Try a little harder. You've got to measure up and make us prouder. How long before you screw it up? And how many times do I have to tell you to hurry up? With everything I do for you, the least you can do is keep quiet. Be a good girl. You've got to try a little harder. That simply wasn't good enough to make us proud. I would live through you. I will make you what I never was, because if you're the best, then maybe so am I. Compared to her, compared to him. I'm doing this for your own damn good. You will make up for what I blew. What's the problem? Why are you crying? Be a good boy. Push a little farther now. That wasn't fast enough to make us happy. We'll love you just the way you are. If you're perfect. Yeah, it's a tough one. And it resonated so much because that's the kind of love with which I grew up. That's how my parents loved me. It was, here's a list of rules, and if you follow them, you do exactly, not just do what we say, but do it exactly the way we say it, then we will love you. And the moment you deviate, we will take that love away. And in fact, they did. I remember when I fell in love with someone they didn't approve of. They kicked me out of the house. They said, you're dead to us, we will never be proud of you. We didn't talk for 3 years. And I remember after 3 years, I decided, I said, you know what, I don't want the last words I say to my father to be F you. You know, and just, if he still wants nothing to do with me, that's fine, but I don't want that to be our last conversation. And by that time, I changed my name, I moved out completely. I said, if I'm dead to you, I'm going to be dead to you. I want nothing. And my parents made up with their last name when they got married, because my mother didn't want to have anything to do with my father's side of the family. So me changing my last name and all that was not a big deal. I just wanted to start all over and look for love in the way that I understood and thought love could be. And so I went and I reached out to my dad after 3 years, and I loved that he just dropped everything he was doing, and he's just, I just want my son back in my life. And I've come to learn he'd done a lot of therapy in that time, and now we're very, very, very close, which is incredible. But I think it happened because there's an old book called Games People Play. And on the cover of the book are 6 circles. And it says that every relationship we have with every single person we have, the moment we have a relationship with them, it could be father, son, it could be strangers, it could be anyone with whom you're having a conversation or anything, the moment you enter into that relationship, you assume one of those roles. So the bottom 2 is child/student. The circle in the middle is adult. And the one in the top is like teacher/parent. And the moment you have a conversation with someone, you immediately assume one of those roles. You're either like the child and the other person assumes the role of the parent, or you're adult to adult, or student to teacher, or somehow there's a power struggle. It's a games people play. This is the whole book simplified, but you get the idea. Just the cover explained really. And I told my dad that when we started our relationship again, we're not going to do this father-son thing. I'm not going to try to impress you as a parent, but we're going to do adult to adult, and we're going to see each other at eye level. And that's, I think, why our relationship has been so healthy ever since. But I still continued searching for that unconditional love that I thought would come from my parents and didn't, that I thought would come from some siblings and it didn't. And I remember one day thinking, like, who has been there for me through it all? Through the challenges, through the joys, through everything. Who has not let me down? And I thought about like suicide attempts from which I had woken up, where there was no medical reason for me to have been woken up. And I thought about my heart still beating, my lungs still functioning, and I have no control over any of it. I have no idea who's controlling it, but whoever it is going to decide one day that it's going to stop, and I have no control over that either. But it keeps breathing life into me. And you can call it God. I think I use that word as a placeholder for what that is. But some force, I don't know where the batteries are, but something is keeping everything functioning. And I felt this tremendous gratitude for this force, for this unconditional love that keeps breathing life into me, no matter what I do or don't do. There's no list of rules. If you do this, then we'll love you, and if you don't, then we'll take it. And it just felt so unconditional. So much so that even if I screw up, it's forgiving. That even it was just going right back to what you were saying, that our life experience is dictated by our theology. And if I woke up with the theology that God loves me the way my parents love me, and I had to impress God, and God would condemn me to hell, and that would affect my life experience. But of all the experiences in my life, God's love was the one love that wasn't judgmental. God's love was the one that accepted and loved and forgave and continues to. It was nothing like that song by Alanis Morissette. It was, dare I say, an invitation to love myself that way. And then became the journey of therapy to figure out how can I love myself like that, so unconditionally. And I think it goes back to where I started, with the Dalai Lama defining love as the absence of judgment. I have to stop judging myself. And the moment I stop judging myself, I stop judging others. It's this beautiful relationship where we relate to others the way we relate to ourselves. And So again, it all goes right back home. And I just want us, if nothing else, to leave with a sense of awareness. When we say love, what do we mean? And do we really mean it? And can we love ourselves the way we want someone else to love us? Because I think people treat us in the way that we show them we deserve to be treated. In the sense that what you allow is what will continue. People, you teach people how to treat you. And so I allowed my parents for a certain amount of time to love me a certain way until I said, time out. We're going to need to redefine this and redefine our relationship. And I'm really glad I did, because it was someone pulled the needle off the record and said, no more. Let's start, and we have, and it's been an incredibly healing, I think, growing relationship for both of us. I had that same relationship with God, where someone just like, okay, how do I redefine my relationship with God with this? And is God outside of me, or is it in me? And if it's in me, it's in everyone else. And so the beauty of Namaste is that the God in me sees and loves the God in you. And when Gandhi said, if you can't see God in the next person you meet, you're not going to see God anywhere. So it's this constant invitation to drop the judgment. So, if nothing else, and again, I never know where it's going to go, I would leave here today just raising our awareness of when judgment creeps in. And because that's where love seeps out, if that makes sense. Love is the absence of judgment. We must do away with judgment. And when we do away with it, it's not like we have to create love. Love is there. I think that is how we start out. Like we are born loving. We are taught how to hate. So we don't need to do anything to be loving, except we need to stop judging. And the love is what we're doing. Thank you guys.